YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage back with Total War Rome 2 online multiplayer. This time it will be a Rome versus Seleucids match. This is a Roman army I've been toying with a little bit. It's good in some scenarios, I think. I don't know. You know what's funny is I run into a lot of people in this game that I play, and they tell me how they hate it and they want to go back to Shogun 2, which is fine. Shogun 2 is a game of a different sort. It's fun in its own right. But a lot of them complain saying that I don't understand this game doesn't make sense. A lot of people feel like it's just kind of broken. It's not. It used to be pretty screwed up in the multiplayer, but it's really not now. And Rome 2 has its own mechanics, similar to, I say similar to Shogun 2. Shogun 2 had its own mechanics. I say similar. They're not really similar, but you all know what I mean. Once you understand the mechanics of the game, you can build effective armies. It's a little more difficult in Rome 2 because Rome 2 has a bigger variety of units and factions. And it requires a little more patience in my mind, but I think that Rome 2 actually is a very worthy multiplayer platform right now, other than the bug that allows you to see your opponent's army sometime when the game's starting. You really need that one fixed. But say, for instance, look at this army of Rome. I bring Principes because these guys have really good attack and overall value for the price. So I bring them because I don't want to spend too much money on infantry because I'm going up against the Seleucids. And let's be honest, what infantry does the Seleucids have that can really match even cheaper Roman infantry? Not much. So that's why I've brought the cheaper infantry like I did. And if my opponent were to have brought a cheap pike line, cheap infantry, and a lot of velites, allows me to screen, destroy his pike line, and get around the flanks. So that's kind of the idea of my army. It's versatile. It can be used against a sword army of Seleucids, and it can be used against a pike army of Seleucids. Now, there's two things that the velites buy me. One I've just mentioned, which is the pikes. Javelin units and heavy slingers are going to be good against pikes, and even archers can be good against pikes, to be honest. Missiles are the bane of pikes, and you want to keep archers or javelin men around to deal with elephants. Javelin men are better, I think. But some people prefer archers because of their range. But one of the two, you need them around to deal with elephants. My opponent did not bring any elephants, though. He's got, it looks like 6 thorax swordsmen, which stray into the range of my velites, and they are going to make them pay for that. And he's got 2 or 3 Hellenic cataphracts, and I think 2 or 3 Median cav. Somewhere in there, let's see, and a scythe chariot. So I expected some kind of heavy killing unit. It's a smart thing to bring against Romans, and he does bring it right here. So I got to keep an eye out on those scythe chariots. They're dangerous. My opponent's infantry attack here is a little bit off cue. Now, of course, my counterattack is a little bit off cue as well, but no real big deal. Look at these guys that went charging on through. He must have given him an attack order on my velites. Yeah, so anyway, my opponent pulls up. I'm going to go ahead and deal attack charges across the line. I see his chariots incoming, and I go ahead and attack him with my gladiator spearmen just to try and bog him down while my javelins start to get hits. Missiles are going to be the best way to take down these scythe chariots, and cavalry can help bog them down as well. So I have a Praetorian cav coming in to try and get Draco used on him. And then on the flanks, I was able to catch my opponent's cavalry without it getting a charge. Use Draco with all of my units, which should give my men a bonus versus cav. And you can see that his Hellenic cataphracts are getting shredded with very little effect. My javelins are unloading on his massive infantry here, and his scythe chariots are under heavy missile fire and are already routing, and now they're shattered. So his scythe chariots didn't get any kills because I focused on them with missile fire and just got them out of the fight as quick as I could. Now, it's not to say that scythe chariots are no longer a threat. They most certainly are. But you got to keep your eye out on them. Got my Praetorian cav into the back of his thorax swords. These Praetorian cav mopped up that Median cav, no problem. And now I'm going to bring them in for a rear charge. We'll follow it in. It's going to be kind of a lot of bushes here, make it a little bit hard to see the overall effect of the charge. But yeah, in any case, I got a nice rear charge into his thorax swords, which were otherwise winning the fight against my Principes in certain localities. And then you can see, once his thorax swords do break through, all I got to do is just break up and continue to fire with my velites. Cavalry mopped up. The Seleucids do have good cav, but you got to use it differently these days. So Hellenic cataphracts, they need to charge in and then have a lighter cav, like a Median cav or some kind of light cav there to fill in to allow the cataphract to pull out and come back for another charge. So cataphracts have to be used as a charge unit. They are devastating into the front or back of certain infantry units on the charge, but again, you have to get them out of that fight and bring them around for another charge. Make sure you're careful with when you use the trample charge because it's going to exhaust them. So it's not to say that cataphracts aren't useful, but they're a tool really meant for striking now, which is the same with all shot cavalry. Shot cavalry used to be the tool for taking down other cavalry, kind of like Yari Cav in Shogun 2. That's no longer the purpose that it fulfills in Rome 2. Taking down other cavalry is best done with other heavy melee cavalry. Melee cavalry is good against infantry. It's not going to get a lot of kills on the charge though. It hangs around in a fight for longer. Shot cavalry will get the kills on the charge. So ideally, if you're going to run a rear cav with charge, it's best done with shot cavalry. When you do a rear charge with melee cav, depending on the situation, you can leave them in that fight sometimes. Whereas with shot cavalry, even if it's into the rear, you want to charge and retreat, charge and retreat. My opponent spent too much money on his cataphracts and didn't get the kills he needed out of them. He also spent a lot of money on the chariots and got no kills out of them, so my army ended up being very cost effective in this case. But I thought that this battle would be a good chance to discuss some of those mechanics, and I'll kind of keep the discussion around the game mechanics going. The mechanics in this game are pretty simple to understand, and in the beginning of my next video, maybe I'll cover a few basics just to try and help people, I guess, get a feel for this game and not be frustrated by it. Anyway, HeirofCarthage signing off for now.